very excited to be able to talk to Emad Mostaque from Stability AI. Welcome to the stage. Grab a mic, turn it on. This is what you've been all waiting for. All right, well, it's already come up today. The letter is on everybody's mind. Should we pause AI research for 6 months? You signed on to it, which I literally emailed you to make sure it was true because I found it so hard to believe. Why did you sign on to the letter?
Well, I saw that Bill Gates had signed up, so I was like, you might as well. No, look, I mean, I think the letter kind of says basically what OpenAI said in their AGI thing, where they said if the time comes, you should slow down, you should invite regulation and look at runs above a certain size. Like, it kind of had that, plus a few crazy things. So I was like, I'll leave the crazy things to the side and agree with the spirit of the letter, because we have no idea what's happening with these models that are coming. It's really going to ramp in 6 to 9 months as the TPU V5s, the H100s, and other come on. Like, I know a 30,000 H100 cluster coming online. That's like 8 GPT-3s a day. And we have no idea how these large models work, what actually happens with them, or how to align them, because it's a bit crazy.
Right. I mean, I was talking to someone from Midjourney yesterday who was sort of saying, we don't really understand how our models went from 6 fingers to 5. Or is there that level of I have no idea why this has improved that much? Or, I mean, why don't you understand your models?
No, we do have an understanding of models at a certain size, but basically you see emergent properties as you scale. And again, as you hyperscale to the models that the letter specifically says, which is GPT-4 and above, of course, nobody knows what GPT-4 level is, but let's just say it's big, right? Then you get these emergent properties, and danger comes in a variety of factors. Like, my view on AGI is that we are really boring, and the AGI just won't bother, so it'll be like in Her, where it's like, bye, see you later, right? As long as you don't poop on someone.
That's a nice view of it.
That's my view, but I could be wrong.
Right.
And, again, if you look at the OpenAI kind of AGI manifesto, it says, this could be an existential threat. And we're going to treat it like such. I'm like, bollocks, of course you're not. If you did, then you wouldn't be doing it, It could have the effect of overturning our democracy, taking away our freedom. This actually sounds like anti-democratic, anti-American. It's one of those weird things whereby we never believed that it could happen, but now we're seeing this technology go around the world. And so I think that it's reasonable now, because to be honest, nobody's going to train a model of this size anyway for 6 months, because you need the new compute to come in, to put this in the public idea of saying, let's have an open discussion about transparency, governance, and sovereignty. Because there is zero...
Do you want OpenAI to stop development or just not release anything?
No, they should release, so they should do it, but they should become transparent and properly governed. Because what's the governance of OpenAI? Nobody knows. What's the transparency? Completely opaque.
They stopped publishing, basically, for GPT-4.
Well, I think that's one thing. And again, they said that's for competitive reasons. I don't mind that. So for Midjourney, I gave David a grant to kick it off and said, just do what you want. It's complete grant. I don't want equity or anything, because you're doing amazing stuff, and it's amazing. I have no problem with private models. What I have a problem with is that there is a technology that they themselves say could wipe us out and could overturn society. These are big things. And it's not me saying it, it's them saying it, it's Demis saying it. And there is zero transparency, accountability, or governance there. So I think that there should be, and they themselves say they welcome that. Let's get that ASAP. Let's get that conversation going in the public. Because does anyone here want to build something that could kill us all? Hands up. Good.
Well, it feels like there's a comfort level where it's like, oh, if it's only 10% kill us all, and 90% I'm a world historical figure, people are comfortable with that.
Well, I mean, look, Sam did the interview on ABC where we got asked the question, if there's a 5% chance that this could kill us all, would you push a button to stop it? It was like, no, I would slow it down. I mean, bollocks, right? I mean, you stop it. But the thing is, nobody knows, because this is an unknown, right?
You must be hard at work, or I hope, for the sake of open source, working on extracting all the wisdom out of GPT-4 and turning that into something open source, right? Or how do you...
transfer learning, yeah, that's
where are you on that? Or where?
Oh, look,
where is the open source world sort of more broadly?
So we have our place in the open source world, and we'll be building benchmark models of every modality. So we have language models, chat models, other things coming out, and you can do transfer learning. I think the question is that, actually, if you step back, what happened is a lot of these labs were like AGI, and it was this unobtainable thing. And it stack more layers. So basically, what we have now with our models is that they are really talented grads that occasionally go off their meds. and we've fed them with crap. So they're obese as well, you know? So what we've got to do is feed them better stuff, free-range organic, you know, and we've got to socialize them.
What is that?
Well, it's better data sets. So we go from trillion to 25 trillion parameter databases. What is the appropriate number of tokens for a language model? What should it know and what should it not know? Because right now what we do is RLHF. You have this whole Shoggoth thing.
Right.
Again, I like to think of the disheveled grad that's worked too hard, and then you like teach it to be a human again, right?
Right. Well,
Like,
that's that sort of picture of like the monster,
Yeah.
and then on the outside it's sort of the human reinforced
smiley
sort of
face.
smiley
Yeah,
face.
because again, we feed it junk. We feed it the whole internet. I'm like, let's actually put some standards around what data we should feed it, so you have out of bounds kind of sample things. Let's have some level of transparency over the large models that could be agentic or could be used for bad purposes in a very effective way. And like my focus is on small adaptable models that are hyper optimized for the edge, given the nature of my company.
Are you building any proprietary models? I mean, people, some people think, Stability AI is working as like a consultancy, or how do you think about, what is the product that you'll sell?
It's very simple. Would any of you here send all your internal materials to GPT-4 for your company and your knowledge? No. What you'll need to have is free-range organic models inside your VPC in your cloud, and I'm going to create the benchmark model for every modality, country, and sector. And that can be completely
Closed source or open?
No, completely open. You need to be, remember this whole thing about interpretable AI, auditable AI? They need to be open. It doesn't mean that you can't use commercially licensed data sets. You can do that for the sectoral variants. And so basically, Anthropic, OpenAI, everyone like that is public data to private models. I'm public models to private data. And so I play on the other side of the firewall. The reason I'm saying this is not because I want to build a GPT-4 level model. I don't think that's necessary, because I think multiple models working together is efficient. I signed the letter because I think they themselves say it's a threat. We all know that it's a threat, but we're not having a proper public discussion and demanding the key thing, like build private models, make them amazing. I use GPT-4 every day. It's the best therapist, right? But have a level.
How so?
Have you tried talking to it?
I do. I played a role-playing game with it. It created a character. The problem is it then forgot everything. Like I find the memory limits really inhibiting.
Well, okay, so it's a really talented grad with occasionally off his meds with a bad memory. We'll fix those things, right? We'll balance it out. Well, embedding stores are great. I actually uploaded all my emails to the OpenAI embeddings API. Again, fantastic product, you know? And so some of my emails may be answered by AI. You don't know.
But do you think plugins is like the death knell for open source? Or if everything flows through OpenAI, like are you worried about plugins?
You can't send your private regulated government, other data to black boxes. It just does not work. So I think in the future there will be amazing proprietary models and there will be amazing open models. And people will have a hybrid AI experience. The AI on your phone that knows everything about you, you're not going to send that to Microsoft or to Google if Bard ever gets good or anything like that. You will have your own model, right?
You know, people are starting to talk more about, like local computing or like even on your phone running some of these systems. And in particular, some of the stuff are you in any discussions with Apple, or like that seems like a company where people don't know what's happening, and they're very privacy focused.
There was a press release and an iOS update December 1st, putting Stable Diffusion support on the neural engine. Wasn't that interesting?
Right.
You know?
Yeah, everyone is reading between the lines, so you're saying do read between the lines on that.
I can't say anything. Look, basically, so my co-founder Joe and I, he set up Imagine Worldwide. It's our charitable arm. We've been deploying tablets to refugee camps around the world with adaptive learning. And in 76 months, we teach literacy and numeracy in 1 hour a day to kids in refugee camps. Right?
Using
basic adaptive learning. So we got the remit to educate all the kids in Malawi.
Right.
Building special bonds with the World Bank and others. I'm going to build the Young Lazy Illustrated Primer for 100 million kids in Africa in the next few years. We have custom silicon coming to take these language models to the edge. So it's going to teach the kids and learn from the kids. So this is my objective function. 10% of the equity of stability is set aside for that. So this is actually one of the things we haven't talked about publicly yet, but this is the first time we are properly. That is the objective function. So I'm going to be the default OpenAI on every single chip out there for private data, for personal data. And that's what I built stability to be, because then it allows us to continue to be open. And OpenAI, to be realistic, they
Sorry, can you tease that? I just don't. What's the mission? Say it again.
Well, my mission is to bring. So our mission is to build the foundation to activate humanity's potential. My personal mission is to educate every child in the world and give them their own tutor and AI to help them. I want to call it one AI per child, but everyone's like, no, that's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
So I have to come up with a better name for
Well,
that.
you're raising money from investors. You know, there are reports that you're out there trying to raise another round. Lightspeed and Coatue are already investors. Like, what's the monetization model? Or, you know, like people understand your association with Stable Diffusion, but I feel like they're still trying to understand sort of the business model.
We build models of every single type, right? So the simplest business model is modeling agency, as I like to put it, where we are working with a few partners on really customized models and variants of this. But the big model is to be the default base model provider for every sector, nationality, and others. And there are probably 40-odd announcements in the next 2 months around that.
So you go to a company and you say, okay, we have this model we can bring to you, help you implement, and it'll be your own data that you're training, not dumping it onto Microsoft.
On-prem, but it's not us. It's a network of about 24 partners that will be announced. So we provide the base models, we simplify it for them, because these models are like game engines. Since we launched Stable Diffusion, we've only seen 5 companies in the world actually train their own from scratch that we know of. Because why would you if you have a pre-trained model? And you remember the Wii U to Breath of the Wild? Optimizing these neural net architectures is incredibly valuable, and being the entity that creates default models that everyone can take and extend, open and proprietary version, not proprietary, commercially licensed versions of those for healthcare, education, others, is a very great place to be, and that's what we're focused on, because then we never have to compromise on proprietariness. I mean, again, I used to be a hedge fund manager. Like, I built this with business model first and cooperative first and a partnership first approach. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, given you brought up the hedge fund piece of it, I'm interested in, you've talked about it some, so I don't want to talk about it for too long, but what inspired you to make the leap to AI? I mean, were you playing in crypto at all for a period of time before AI?
So my college roommate, Ben Dello, set up BitMEX and was Britain's youngest billionaire. So I got into crypto in 2011.
And so the rumor is like you had acquired a lot of GPUs for crypto and you're repurposing. That's false.
That's false. I got into AI when my son was diagnosed with autism, and everyone told me there was no cure treatment. So I built an AI team to do literature review and drug repurposing, focusing on neurotransmitters to ameliorate his symptoms to allow him to have ABA. So I did that, and he went to mainstream school.
Amazing. Yeah.
So that was when I got into it, and I saw the power of it, and I told everyone, look at this, and they're like, who the fuck are you? You're a hedge fund manager.
Right.
So then we did Imagine Worldwide, and then I led a United Nations AI initiative against COVID-19 in 2020, 2021. And a lot of companies promised me a lot of technology and didn't deliver, and I said, I'm going to create the open source version of this for you guys. Because this technology should not be restricted at a base level because it gives you superhuman powers.
What, in terms of Stability AI and like what it contributed to Stable Diffusion, can you talk about that? Like, what's sort of the size of the engineering team, funding? Like, yeah, just like the Stable Diffusion like kicks so much of this off, right? I mean, I said that in my newsletter the other day. Yeah. You, in some ways, were the starting gun to OpenAI starting to open up a lot of their offerings, right? Do you see it that way?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, I think this was happening anyway because the technology got good enough to have revenue around it. So my approach was basically to go and fund everything and give grants to everything because it was just so amazing to be able to
From money you made as a hedge fund manager?
Yeah, pretty much. I built a cluster without any funding of 4,000 A100s. You know, it's good to have some flexibility.
Right.
Working with the partners at Amazon and kind of others as well. Amazon in particular were amazing for that. I think that the thing is, we were kind of collaborative, and this is what we continue to do. Like, we just funded RWKV with millions of A100 hours. It's an RNN-based transformer with 14 billion parameters that works. RNNs work, you know? And do just stuff off-piece like that.
Sorry, but just on the Stable Diffusion origin story. Yeah. So it's like money, training.
We were funding the entire sector, all the notebooks, everything like that. And then Robin Rombach, University of Heidelberg, one of the authors of Latent Diffusion, which was the precursor, contacted me and said, can you help? I was like, yeah. And
How did you know them?
Well, just because we knew the entire sector. And I was like, latent diffusion is a really promising thing. Let's scale it aggressively. And let's, put engineering towards it as well. So basically, Stable Diffusion was a collaboration between CompViz, where he was a PhD student, Stability, and Robin leads our team at Stability, along with all the other authors of Latent Diffusion, apart from Patrick Esser, who's at Runway ML. So it was a three-way collaboration.
Right.
And so Stable Diffusion 1 was released like that. And then we were like, this is a bit too good. Because it could do, even though we had the safety filter, it could do not safe for work and all sorts of other things. And so I was like, I don't feel comfortable with Stability putting that stuff out, because we work with like Thorn and a range of others, just like we offer opt-out and other things people don't. So Stable Diffusion 2 onwards is basically all Stability and kind of the team in there.
You've taken more. Well, there was a little scuffle, where Runway updated the Stable Diffusion model. You said they're not supposed to, and then said it was okay, or what happened there?
Yeah, pretty much. So like Confiz released 1.4 because it was the PhD students, so Patrick also at Runway is there. And then basically we, in our collaboration agreements, we're very arm's length. So like with Lion, we gave them compute and they built the data set and it was amazing work, and the open clip and other things. Because I don't want to get in the way of kind of the people. But we had an agreement whereby any of the contributors could release it. We thought that meant unanimous. It didn't.
Right. You want to create like an organization that runs it all together.
Yeah.
They were sort of like, okay, we're going to release it. Thank you for spending money on compute.
We did the kind of exploratorium kind of big event that we did, and then we had an agreement that in painting be released. I was in a meeting with Jensen at NVIDIA, and it got released, and everyone was like, oh my God, what happened? So then there was, we said that can't be it, because there was an agreement, take it down. But they thought it was from lawyers, when our lawyers never contacted. I came out of that meeting, I said, let's turn that around. It's fine. You have the authority to release it. It's kind of your decision if you want to release it. I don't think it's the right thing. I don't think we had an agreement. And then we moved on from there because there was disagreement. And I said, OK, we'll take Stable Diffusion 2.0 onwards, and we'll run with that. And then Runway have run with Gen 2 and things like that and built amazing things, and they've gone proprietary.
I mean,
it's fine.
Do you feel like you fired a starting gun that you regret in any way? I mean, if you're signing this letter, you're worried there's a technology that's out of the control, and you were helping to sort of get the ball rolling. I don't know. Do you have any apprehension about that?
No, it was coming anyway. Again, I saw the quality of GPT-3 and other things, and this was coming because what happened is that you've moved from research to revenue, and this is fantastic. Like, I don't think there'll be any programmers left in 10 years. Why would you need programming language when you have instant kind of thing? And you look at all the disruption this is causing, this would have accelerated anyway. And did I release a trillion parameter model like some people? No. I released a model that fits on an iPhone. And that was our objective function when we were building it.
Right.
It's just a fact that it was open and it worked, and it has made the world more creative. So I think the regulation of bigger models was coming anyway because of H100s and TPU v5s and this scale up, because scaling was not linear. You had this massive drop off. Then we had kind of pipeline parallelism and a whole bunch of other things that allowed us to get more linear. And now with H100s, we can basically scale pretty much linearly. Yeah?
Stability right now today, like employee headcount, revenue, anything you can give us just to like understand it. It feels anything. People.
We're 170 people now. We've got another 160 people, another 27 starting soon. People joining us from all sorts of places. We're going very hard, very aggressively. Like I said, there'll be dozens of announcements in the next month about various things. Unfortunately, I can't give more detail than that.
And I mean, Amazon, you've mentioned Amazon, NVIDIA at various points. What's the status of your relationships like with those companies?
Well, they're super close. Again, we're partners for everyone because we make life easier by creating standardized, stable series models, right? And so we're very appreciative of Amazon. They kind of built our first cluster, kind of got us accelerated, and look forward to deepening that relationship.
And I mean, we touched on this early in the conversation, but GPT-4 is just looming so large. Like, what's your view of what it's capable of, how close other people are to it? Like, what's your assessment of it?
I think that it's an incredible feat of engineering. I think that's the thing. OpenAI are the best engineers in the world, and they've done amazing kind of work there. I think that they were just focused, and they delivered something that has real value. I mean, like, again, I think all of us probably use Copilot for development now where we can. It was not regulated by that. Like I said, therapist, all these other things. In terms of how far away other people are, like, they had the head start because ultimately they worked with Microsoft, and Microsoft had Singularity to create this hyper-optimized cluster that could scale almost EC2 style with all the kind of resonance support. You compare that maybe to the OPT logbook from Meta, where they were like, on the 22nd of December, customer service deleted our cluster. That was very painful reading, right? Because these things are a bit more like art than science. So I think that other teams are just trying to get their act together, but Google will come through in that they will have that level of model. They're bringing out some walls and dealing with the institutional inefficiency. NVIDIA is the one that people don't realize is going fully in on this space.
In terms of their own multimodals,
They're launching their cloud. They're launching foundation models as a service. And they have amazing engineers, and they've been keeping stum on it effectively. But you can see it's coming.
Is there anyone you think is sort of asleep at the wheel, or? Yeah, somebody just shouted Amazon.
I couldn't possibly comment. No, look, I think it's difficult because no one's ever seen anything as fast as this before. The integration, because like you said crypto before, like all I've ever done is lost money in crypto. I've lost so much money, right? Because not your keys, I lost my keys. You know, actually, I did come up with a good quote for open source: "Not your weights, not your brain." There we go. You guys can take that. So, like, they tried to create
That's
a
good.
system.
I like it. Yeah. Anyway,
Please take it. And .ai bubble is the other one coming up. So, you know.
What is that?
The .ai bubble, as hundreds of billions come into here. So again, journalists.
Are we in a bubble? Yeah, if you declare that right now, I think.
Of course not. This is bigger than 5G or self-driving cars. Those had $100 billion, $1 trillion of investment. $6-7 billion has gone into this sector. And it's far more impactful than those.
But I was making this argument on stage earlier that the big companies basically have an incentive to overpay because they want companies to turn around and spend money, on their services. Do you buy that that's pushing valuations up?
I think at the moment a lot of the stuff is just POCs and it hasn't really integrated. But then you've seen Microsoft integrate like nothing else. But even then, look, Bing is not top of the App Store fundamentally because it's still a bit crap.
Right.
You know, like when founders come to me, I say build good products that solve problems. Most of the stuff is still surface level. They're not thinking about the data journey, the user experience, models with embedding stores and all these other things.
Yeah.
And so I think we have to wait for the next wave, but things are useful right now. And I think as they're useful right now, 1,000 companies in the next year will spend $10 million each, which is a $10 billion market, just trying to figure out what on earth is going to happen.
You're talking about having companies focus, and I get some of your message that for stability, it's okay. Make it your own. We'll sort of help you make it your own. But like, are there going to be specific use cases where to reach out to customers, or are you going to narrow in some way what your specialty is?
No. So our specialty is to build the benchmark models of every modality, sector, and nation.
Isn't that huge? Like that's huge.
It is, but someone's got to do it. And again, with our partner network, it's a really useful, valuable thing. Because you don't want to have 1 million Unreal Engines, right? Or consoles. I think you want a level of standardization, but you also want to be able to build your own if you want. So like Dream Studio, for example, we put a huge amount of work into the enterprise offering. We just done it. We're about to open source the latest version and just say, let the community build it, right? Because we were thinking about vertical integration. You can't do everything. And this is the thing. Everyone wants to do a little bit of everything. Find your niche, find your customer, find your distribution. But with the pace this goes, I think partnering is generally the best way. Because you can't build a sales team for your demand. Like, my inbox is hideous. That's why I needed the embeddings API and to create my own chatbot, right? Like, demand.
But you think you can partner to outsource sales altogether?
Yes.
Interesting.
Because I'm helping them.
Are you going to get acquired, or?
No.
Okay.
I'm going to IPO.
You're going to go public.
I'm going to IPO. I'm going to build one of the best companies in the world.
But that years, you're saying in years, or?
Faster.
Fast? When?
The market needs an investment that has every modality, every sector.
This year?
Everything. No.
Next year.
I can't comment.
You're within the next 3 years?
Look, again, this is the biggest thing of all time, and we're just at the start.
Yeah.
So I'm a public markets investor that knows all the public market investors, and the market needs to have something like that. But it's hard. You have to build a great company first. Then I think you can't just IPO with crap. You have to get amazing revenue, amazing partners, distribution, and an edge. So we've been executing. We're 17 months old. Right?
It's insane.
I think we've been executing pretty darn well. But at the same time, we haven't done everything perfectly. Like, hyperscaling is hard. So we'll continue to scale, and we'll continue to be in our specific area, which is building benchmark models and supporting the open source and academic communities, right? And hopefully, everyone will be able to build on top of that, and you'll be able to build cool, awesome stuff.
I'm going to open it up after this question, so think about your questions. AGI, like, that's sort of looming in the background of the letter when we opened up the conversation. Like, do you have a view on how close we are to AGI and how scared you are or aren't of it?
I mean, like I said, we'll never be less than 12 months away, according to everyone. There's nothing that can change that, right? I have no idea. I think AGI, people have different definitions of it. Like I said, my base thing is that we're just really boring, and AGI won't really care about us. It'll just bugger off like Scarlett Johansson and Her, right? Like, you're boring.
Then what are you scared of? You're not scared of AGI. You're scared of jobs replacement?
Jobs replacement. I'm scared of use of this technology in a proper aggressive way. And I'm not scared of AGI. Like, I could be wrong. So I'm not the type of person who's like, I'm 100% right about everything. There is a potential for existential threat. That's not my base condition, but it's a probability. And much of our world is a Gerdic. Like our science with my son is a Gerdic. 1,000 tosses of the coin is the same as 1,000 coins cost at once, because our systems can only absorb so much data. The Gutenberg press allowed us to scale by formalizing information, but it lost a lot of the complexity. So our systems standardize us, right? This AI allows us to have infinite context and other things, and that's incredibly powerful, but at the same time, there is an existential threat, and that could take humanity to zero. There is an existential threat where our freedom could be completely replaced by entities that could control our minds effectively.
But nation states using non-AGI to manipulate people.
No, but there's a whole scale here. There's a whole scale of threats that we have to come together as society to realize could be happening faster than others. If they don't, fantastic.
Right.
But if there's ever a time to discuss it, it's now. If you tried to have this discussion 6 months ago, before ChatGPT, or a year ago, it would not be appropriate. Now
right.
is
Now
the
that
time.
people can see it, they see the fear. Okay, question. Yeah. Anybody? Bold? Boom. Daniel. Can somebody give him a mic? Right there.
Thanks. This is awesome, incredibly inspiring hearing you talk, especially this fast, this wild live. I've got a question about something earlier that you said, which is your ambition is to create public models that people can then use with private data, but that doesn't talk about the fact that you train the model that is public on private data. And I'm interested in your thoughts on the Getty lawsuit, particularly that part of the complaint with the 2 soccer photos, which I thought was really damning. And as you think about going forward as a potentially public company, how worried are you about the plaintiff's bar in the United States and weaknesses that you and companies like yours have around intellectual property rights?
I mean, man, I can't talk about lawsuits publicly, right? I can't. But look, I think I can say some things, though, in regards to that. I think that people scrape off a whole bunch of things, and there's legislation that varies around various countries. There's an input argument and an output argument. We have Mark Lemley from Stanford leading our defense, he wrote the book on fair use. So, we're reasonably confident about that. We are the only company to offer opt-out. And it's not a legal or moral or ethical obligation. I think it's the reasonable and right thing to do.
Opt-out, like people can crawl in and say, pull this out of your training model? Or?
Yes, so we will be making an announcement about the next version of Stable Diffusion. The number of images that have been opted out is huge. And I think it's the right thing to do, and I think people should do that. Because governments have come to me and said, should we allow you to crawl everything for anything? And I'm like, no. We should have standards for not crawling, standards for opt-out and other things, because it's the right thing to do.
All right, one more question. Come on, somebody. Yeah, you were great before. You go for it.
So first, amazing talk. Thank you for being here. You're still not very clear with us on how we're going to make money. If the model is out there,
I sort of echo
and
that.
It's open and it's free, I can grab it and run with it. I don't need to pay you anything.
I mean, this is why we don't have any open source companies at all. Basically, people pay for surety, they pay for standards, and even if it's open, you can create variants of that are auditable, interpretable with commercially licensed data that, again, is fully there. And this is what you need for education, healthcare, regulated sectors, industries, governments, and more. So, just having a model that isn't good enough, but there's more to that. But again, I'm a hedge fund manager, so I don't want to give away my arbitrage opportunities. You're going to see my business model properly in a year or two when I give away all my secrets.
The last question, just like what advice would you give to the audience here? This is sort of a set of people who believe in the story that AI is disrupting everything. How should people position themselves for this? Nobody knows which businesses have a moat, right? I think there's a lot of concern. Should I be going to a business with foundational research? Should I be focusing on some product use case? Like, who's safe from disruption? Or what businesses would you tell people to go to build right now?
Well, you should go into regulated businesses that will have supernormal margins, right? Because you have pricing power. So the question is, do you have pricing power? Because with a 32,000 token context length in GPT-4, you can put a 20,000 word instruction manual. This AI is really good at reading instruction manuals. And people are really bad at reading instruction manuals.
So you're saying be a lawyer, be a doctor, be something where like you're protected by the government.
No,
not those either.
Well, you can run a law firm
Right.
or a doctor or something like that, but entering that, definitely not. Again, it's businesses with pricing power versus businesses that don't, but this transforms information structure flow, which is incredibly powerful. And yeah, I think that for those launching companies in this space, you partner with people that can give you scale because you won't be able to build scale in time. I think that's a very important thing. And everyone is looking for an answer because their boards and CEOs are bugging them. So offer a good answer and make them feel comfortable, and you'll make loads and loads of money.
Great. Well, thank you so much for coming up here. Really appreciate it.
Thanks so much.